welcome to Moral High Ground. Today I'm going to be talking about why businesses are affected by the homeless crisis and how a lot of businesses are just sick and tired of the homeless crisis. And so pretty much this is another video, and I'm going to review it and I'm going to say my opinion. And I'll leave it to you to figure out what the moral consequences should be for the situation. Get into it. Alright, so here's the video. Here's it's a big news story, whatever. It's the Portland Consul, but it's going to shift from there into businesses that's got a problem with the homeless crisis. So here we go.
These are generally a scourge on the neighborhood. They usually become quite the target and the beacon of bad behavior.
On Wednesday, Portland City Councilors talked to foreclosing on 8 properties sitting empty and in debt, like this overgrown lot off Southeast Cesar Chavez Boulevard.
Now, just first offhand, by looking at this lot, you can see why the homeless people have some kind of, why there's a problem with the homeless. This is an empty lot. There's nothing there. Even got little areas where you could probably build a little shelter in, and so it would make sense for them to want to occupy it. The problem is what's around it. You can see a house in the back here in this region, and of course this is like an apartment complex, whatever, and there's a house right here at the same time. The thing is, the people, if they were homeless, don't have the respect for these neighbors. Now, I can understand if there's some homelesses that were actually quite decent to go in there and try to occupy it and keep it clean and make it a good space. They would probably give these homeless people the property, but there's not that, because there's an overabundance of drug addicted homeless people. And I believe that the homeless people, I was thinking about this the other day, should be broken into categories where there's just the homeless people that lost their homes and they can't find housing, the homeless people who are mentally ill, the homeless people that are drug addicted and mentally ill, and the ones that are homeless continue to stay homeless and prefer being homeless, and most likely both mentally ill and on drugs. So there's altogether every 4 different categories of homeless people, and there's got to be a way to separate the 4, and I believe you can do that. It would take a lot of time, a lot of effort for the city to do, but I think this should be a thing, because that way you can't lump them all into one sum. It's one thing about our country is they got a knack of lumping people together and saying, oh, we're all in the same boat, or they're their kind, or those people, all these little racist words and things. Not even racist is the wrong word, but little, negative words that are being tossed around to represent people who are in groups, or people who come from a group or look like they're part of one. It's the same thing when it comes to black folks. Oh, he's like him and she's like, you don't know, everybody's different. Every black person is different. Same thing with white people. Oh, that person's a bigot and this and that, or same thing with Mexicans or whatever. He's always putting them all in one big group. The same thing. Oh, these people are gay, so all these people are gay. Are these people disabled? Somebody might be using a cane for a week and you're calling them disabled, part of a group. They probably had a bad foot injury or something. Who knows? You can't lock people in these big ass groups and then think because you got one bad egg that the rest of them are all the same. It's not the way it's supposed to be. Okay? Everyone has a life and opinion, and to be honest, I don't give a damn how popular the internet is. It's none of your damn business to get into their personal business about how they live their life and what they believe in, what they stand for, and maybe what they don't stand for. Because a lot of people don't stand for shit, and they depend and leech off of other people. And that's just the honest to God truth about it. So, it's just something to think about. But anyway, I went on the whole rant, but it's just the honest to God truth. If you put them into categories, you're able to determine the ones that are homeless just because of loss of house, finances, whatever. Maybe they have a job but they lost their house yesterday or whatever. This lot would be perfect if you cleaned it up and then let these type of people be in there. But because you don't got categories, any of them go in there and it's a mixture or whatever, and then it's a whole shit show.
It has really attracted the population of people that live on the streets.
Pastor David Brink works at the neighboring church.
We have a constant problem with having to tell people that camping is not allowed here because we have a school and we have children here and we want to keep it a safe space.
At one point, the lot was to be turned into an apartment complex.
Yeah, there were 2 old Portland houses.
The city records show the building permits have expired. As of August, the property owner, Hawthorne Greenseed Apartments, owes the city more than $63,000 in liens. Records show the Oregon Secretary of State dissolved the property owner's business license earlier this year.
By the time a property gets to this stage, it often is a nuisance in the neighborhood. The goal is always to avoid foreclosure and find other ways to clean up these properties, knowing that foreclosure is the last resort.
So even though the place is foreclosed on, and this is the thing, they're gonna talk about this again in this video. They're gonna talk about something being foreclosed on because of whatever company or property owner didn't pay the taxes or just abandoned it altogether. But the city has the money to buy the land itself. The city can buy land itself if it wants to. Okay. And so, I mean, they can buy it back and whatever from the people, but usually the city makes money off of people buying stuff in the city. So if you buy property or, take ownership of a business and put property in your name, then yeah, the city makes money off of taxes, mostly property taxes, which is done every year. But the thing about it is, they don't want to go that route. They want to make it a struggle. And I'm so serious that the city, not just this city, but multiple cities around the nation, want people to be homeless. I see a great fall happening. And, I'm not a prophet. If I am, I'm one of them prophets that don't know I'm a prophet. But I'm telling you, I don't keep talking about all this stuff on this channel for just to be talking about it or to get super success or something. I'm trying to make people aware of what I'm seeing in the world that is wrong. And it's not just seeing what's wrong, but seeing that this is corruption at its best, as wickedness at its best. It's greed at its best. And the thing is, we got to combat this with solutions and positive positive ideas that can change things. I mean, if you want to bring something in the light, you gotta give them the way, to get there. So I'm giving you little visual ways to see what the problems are, so you can get to the bottom of the solution and help solve it. It's not about whatever you guys think I'm doing here, but this is my goal. I want people to be aware of what the hell's happening. I see an outcome based off of all the stuff that's going on in our country, that eventually things are going to turn and normal citizens, because they're already trying to make normal citizens homeless like the homeless people. They've already divided into a way there's rich and poor. There's no more middle class. So all this crap for fighting over Democrats and Republicans is the most ridiculous thing to me. This is why I don't care about politics anymore, or have not really cared that much in the beginning in the first place. I really didn't in the beginning. I just did whatever I liked or whatever, and then just watching it over the years, and then the fact that I did my whole registration back when I was like just turned 18, 20 something years old, whatever. I was like, didn't care then. I was just doing it because hey, let's do this. But thinking about it, and how humanity is, and the way things are, and then looking at this stuff with the government and all these things with local government, you have to be wiser than just saying, okay, I follow this group because they do this and that. I follow that group because they believe in this cause. And then you got one group that thinks they're arrogant and above everybody, and then tries to just like deflect from all the stuff they do, but they're trying to make it so they're more righteous, like Kryptonians. They think they're better than every other species on the planet until they come to Earth, and then you meet Superman, who's I'm turning into a comic book thing. But just be honest, it's like you think you're more superior, like bow before me, kneel before Zod type of shit. Okay, that's what I meant by saying Kryptonians. I'm not gonna get into that, but Like, honestly, that's how Republicans act. And then Democrats, it's pretty much like, let's just give in the sins. They're like the spokesperson for demons. Okay? Oh, let's make everything, gay pride month, and on male month though. Okay, it's supposed to be male mental health month or something like that. Now it's gay pride month. It doesn't make any freaking sense. So let's just diminish men altogether. Let's give women rights to say. And there's some crooked women out there, y'all, that will automatically say they've been abused, raped, and all this because they're not getting their way with the men they're with. So let's humiliate them and take, defame him, humiliate him. Let's run his name through the mud so everyone hates him, and then like they sit back looking pretty because hey, all the laws based on them, child support and everything, they get what do you call it, palimony and all this crap. There's all this money that comes to women, and then the men are looking stupid, or they'll say, oh, he raped me, he molested me, when that's probably the biggest whore around town, just undercover hoe. Okay, and it's just you know where I'm going with this. It has nothing to do with the thing at hand. All I'm trying to say is I'm gonna cut it short because I'm going off into too many rants. And I can go on and on because I'm trying to explain how chaotic our country is. But I'm using all these different analogies because there's so many different types of humans. There's something I mentioned this before. There's too many groups. There's too many so-called groups, so-called agencies, so-called everyone's following something, but they're not following the right thing, and it might as well be God Almighty. Even when you're on the internet, I've been on Twitch and stuff, followers, and here on YouTube, followers, and I'm not getting them. It may be because of the fact that I'm not trying to kiss everyone's ass or make myself look like a stupid clown. But at the same time, or be fake as all hell. I'm real as hell. That's why a lot of people don't dig it, I guess. But I'm just being real, like, you're following all the wrong things. And so they put all these things out to distract you, to keep your mind off of the main focus at hand. And that's why I say you might well follow God, because that's the only way you're going to get out of this chaos. But I see everything flipping real quick. Like I was doing a video yesterday about Section 8, so I couldn't take it because it's just like the way that one woman complains about what am I going to do. Why would you put that video up there? That's so miserable. It's just it makes her look dumb. It looks like a pity party. I'm not with that. I'm not trying to feel sorry for somebody that was trying to survive. But if you made your whole priority living off of the government, then there's something wrong with you already. And I'm just like, honestly, it's just like they can run over us. Okay. What I was getting at when I mentioned the whole women thing is the fact that there's men in prison, tons of them, a lot of them accused of stuff that didn't happen, a lot of them who've done things and are in prison for long periods of times, where right now you got people who commit murder multiple times. They get to walk the streets because they changed the laws to where they can do that. You got lots of people that's doing all kinds of sick, perverted things, ungodly things that only a demon would do. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like you're sitting here and just like, oh, everything's fine. They literally took away masculinity, the whole aggression that we need as males to protect, and say all of it's bad. But you don't know the difference between positive and negative and masculinity. And so by doing that, you'll never get that male protector that you women want. You're always going to look at it like, oh, he's an abuser. And then because everyone's a threat, be a guy, a big guy like myself, I'll keep to myself. I don't like messing with people at all. I'll stay away from people. And I'm only going to flip the strip if you're trying to keep messing with me and attacking me and all that. Yeah, or try to attack me, whatever. I'm going to flip the strip. I'm not going to play the victim card. I'm going to bash your head in. And yeah, so I've been trying to fight against that anger and that aggression for many years. I keep myself in a peaceful state of mind. The only way I can do that is to stay away from people. Stay away from people that are nutty and stuff. So that's why I stay away from folks. I'm not into what everybody else is into. I'm not into the new thing. I don't follow the new thing. And you shouldn't. Because now you're learning that what? There's people who worship the devil. There's a guy with a secret society of having sex with body lotion or whatever the hell it was, baby lotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, this stuff's been there the whole time. But I've been able to avoid it because I don't follow this crap. I don't dig it. It's just I'm not into that world of just because something's new, just jump on it. the disposable world that we live in. You get something, you don't, it doesn't work, let's go buy a new one instead of getting something repaired. I remember when I was a kid, my mom, I don't know, I'm going on a rant, hell with it. I remember when I was a kid, my mom, I had the Nintendo and it broke. And you blow the cartridges and you kept putting it in. And I kept saying, oh, we need a new one. So she just kept finding this place. And they would repair Nintendos back then. In '85, there was this place. And I was like, whoa, okay. And then later on, it was the same thing. We kept going to this place every time it messed up. And they would repair it. And it worked brand new. Eventually, I think longer down the line, I did get some kind of electrical problem. I don't know what it was. But that taught me, and it wasn't just that one, it was something else. I think it was a VCR or something, and we kept getting it repaired instead of doing that. It taught me something. It taught me about, appreciating what you got. You know what I'm saying? You don't always have to replace something with a new thing. And so a lot of people, if I make friends with people, especially females, oh, you got this, you got that. Well, how do you got that? Because I take care of myself. I'm not trying to have stuff to impress other people. Have stuff because I like it or enjoy it. That's the way you should be. And it shouldn't be something where most people are trying to high sight and be a spectacle. You know what I'm saying? Hey, look at me, look what I got, look who I am. Big Bang Tech, fuck all that shit. Okay, excuse me for cussing, but forget all that, okay? It just doesn't make any sense, It's all irrelevant in the end because what society is going to is the reason why I talked about males being incarcerated, all this masculinity getting taken away. They want to run over people. These women have been single and believing a lie for a reason because they always say women and children and men, women first. There's a disaster. Women and children first, right? Because they're going to take out all the women and children because they're already alone. There's no one to protect them. And then the males ain't going to fight back because, hey, they done turned them into pansies and everybody just accept the weird shit that's been freaking against the law for so long. Okay? And it doesn't make any sense. So much perversion and demented ways of thinking. And then people think, this is the way you're supposed to think. You're not supposed to think about this crap. Okay, there's certain things you're not supposed to think about in society. Okay, and literally people are thinking about it more now than they ever have, I believe, because I've never heard so many people talk about stuff I've never heard mentioned in my life, and I guess because I don't deal with people, I miss the mark when it comes to what they're talking about. You know what I'm saying? That's another term from sin, is missing the mark. Okay, I'm not trying to be sinful in that sense where I'm all into it, but when it comes to sin in that way, I miss the mark. I miss whatever they're talking about. I'm not in that. Okay, and the problem, because people are into all these dumbass things, these groups and organizations, these beliefs, these six perversions, the government's gonna walk all over you. Whatever new creation they create somewhere is gonna wipe us all out, and there's nobody gonna be able to defend except for those that have been able to see it coming. And so that's why I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to make y'all aware of what's happening in the world when it comes to things. When just see it a certain way. Okay? Now maybe I went off too much, and maybe a lot of y'all gonna use it against me because there's a lot of haters out there. That's what I got. A lot of haters watching stuff, or not watching it at all, and it doesn't matter to me. Okay? Because it's what I do. It's my way of trying to make sense of the world. Okay, I'm talking in this video, but at the same time I'm making sense of this because it doesn't make sense to me why any of this is occurring. Okay, the city I knew way back when, tents was not a thing in the city. It didn't make any sense. They couldn't get caught 1 minute doing drugs in the city. Just walking around like clear as day, people putting garbage everywhere. I never understood why they said it was clean. It was clean. Looking back, it was clean. Why people would come from other states and say, this is a clean city. Never understood it, but now I do. And a lot of things that's corrupt, I don't get. I understand now why certain things were put in place, and now these things that were there, people don't even talk about, and they're considered, what are you talking about? That ain't happening. It doesn't make sense. Like, y'all wouldn't, because here's what I call something that no one talks about. The tattoo boom of the early 2000s. They're like a tattoo boom. To me, that's what it was. There was nobody like having people would have tattoos, it'd be a thing, but it wouldn't be to the extreme it is now, where everyone had to have a tattoo, women, men, all this. Most people probably had the same religious thought that I had, that, you know, you don't desecrate your body because God has, made you the body's a temple of the soul. You gotta honor God's creation, God's technique of his craft of creating humans. I don't even know a different way of saying it. There's even probably a better way of saying this. But you don't desecrate the body. Okay? Even when it's alive. It's like a sacrilege. So I don't have any tattoos. But everyone gets one. And I just recently had a dumb conversation with a girl, which obviously made me not like her. And she's talking about, oh yeah, you got tattoos? Like, no. Why don't you have any tattoos? Explain to me why I have to have one. You just can't give me an answer to that. And I told her before I even said that, I said, I ask people this all the time that ask me why I don't got one. Why do I have to have one? They can't give me an answer. It sounds illogical to even ask somebody, why don't you have one? Especially if you got a good sense of knowledge, and especially ones if you're a criminal or something, they automatically tell you when the cops are looking for you, they're going to name, or they're going to look for what kind of tattoo you got, so people will be able to identify you. And back in the day, it may be more easier because not too many people had them, but now everyone has them. So which means you might end up in a lineup full of people who have the same tattoo. Okay? That's the most dumbest thing to do. You know you're going to flip out. Don't get yourself a tattoo, because you know you're going to do something dangerous. But in all good sense, it doesn't make sense that a stupid question like that would come up, like, why don't you have one? Why do I need one? What purposes does it serve? Especially if you fluctuate with weight, like myself. When you're a little buff or you're a little skinny or whatever, and then next time you're big again. You know what I mean? It's like that tattoo's gonna be looking like freaking Play-Doh. Well, not even Play-Doh. What the hell do you call the one where you stretch it and stuff? Silly putty. Okay. Tattoo's gonna look like silly putty on you. You're stretching it, pulling it, whatever. I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe I just need to say this stuff. I don't know if I get monetized even. I don't care. You guys can strike the video, whatever. I'm just telling it like it is. We need to come together as people. Not as, I don't know how to say it in a positive way, but, God's people, real people. And I can't even say God's people, because so many people are brainwashed by the church, and they don't understand that God's within. But at the same time, the power of God is in everybody. And what is said in the church is totally different than what is said from the Creator himself and the way things work. The old code, if you will, that gets overlooked constantly and twisted about. Even the Pope himself had some kind of thing where he changed things except the gays. And that's not a thing where I'm saying that that's a good or bad thing, but I'm saying in a spiritual sense that makes no sense, because the church is supposed to stay in line with God. And now if God says it is wrong, then why are you changing something spiritually? Which means that church doesn't hold up to what it believes. And so I'm just like, don't believe everything and look behind things, because no one is safe. These agencies are wrong. Okay? The medical field, the government, the cops, all these agencies, all these groups in between, the feminist movement, the Me Too movement, you know what I'm saying? The Antifas, the whatever's, all these agencies are wrong. All these little groups, these agencies are all wrong. I go on and on and on. I can name so many of them because there's too many of them. Like I said, okay, there's too many of us. And I'm not in the sense where or overpopulation where there's no place you can stay because there's open land everywhere. But hey, PETA and the natural reserve, places, wildlife preserve, they're stopping you from getting land in these places because they say, oh, we're trying to protect the environment. That's horseshit. In a lot of places, it's just desert. It's like, honestly, oh my God, I don't even know why I started doing this rant. I'm gonna make this video way too long. But anyway, hopefully you're still with me and you're sticking with me. So here we go.
Kind of feels like this is in a permanent loop and doesn't really feel like there's a solution. We cannot keep anything on our property without it being stolen.
And inside this building off St. Helens Road is filled with trash, broken glass, and covered in graffiti. Those who work in the area say it's been like this for at least 5 years.
I've seen all kinds of crazy things.
Sean McGrath works at Bridge City Steel.
Man, what don't I see?
Right next door to this neglected warehouse in Northwest Portland.
I've seen everything from stolen cars in the building right next door, homeless people in here, kids like to come here and tag a lot.
City records show from mid-October of last year to late July, fire crews were called to the property 3 times. Police have also been called 3 times during that same period for crime and disorder. When police respond, nothing changes long-term, Sean says.
When they do show up, it'll be good for about a week, and then you'll come back a week later and there'll be some other kind of drama going on here.
The property owner is Christensen Oil. Records.
So before they get into that, that's how it is. They come in, they wipe them out, they come right back because they didn't consider that place home or a place of comfort. I've seen it in many places where they destroy. They'll take over an area and they'll move them out. The cops and this cleaning crew. They bring the cleaning crew with the cops and they start hauling off garbage and taking tents down and everything and moving these people, and they'll throw their stuff away, won't even give them a chance to move because I guess they'll put up these green, it's like a big green paper, and they tell them like, hey, you gotta move from this place, and they refuse to do so. And so then the cops come in with these people and the cleaning crew and they start wiping out the whole area. It's crazy. There was this area not too far off of NATO Parkway, underneath I think that's the Morrison Bridge. It's like before you the on-ramp, underneath the on-ramp area, the Morrison Bridge, I think it is. I think it's Morrison, or maybe it's what other bridge is that after that? Morrison, I don't want to say Hawthorne, but it's a bridge in between maybe. But anyway, so they had all these tents and the thing goes down like this, and there's people just putting more and more tents, and they're walking around. They made like almost look like a little village, like you're in The Hobbit. And people came in there, and they had all these people to wipe them all out of there. Now, for a long time, they stayed gone, but after like 4 months, they started showing up again. And so now they started bricking off areas so they can't get in there. They'll put big stones in areas so people can't do anything underneath the bridge. But that's their go-to way of stopping homeless people from sleeping under bridges, is by putting big stone rocks and stuff underneath there so they can't sleep in there, but they'll still sleep around it. They'll find a way.
Show it filed for bankruptcy in 2016.
The majority of the time when we find ourselves in this type of foreclosure situation, we're talking about properties that have largely been abandoned by either family members of deceased or of businesses who went under. And they're often in areas where the surrounding neighbors are asked to put up with something, I think, a little too long.
It's very frustrating. I mean, look, I work right next door, and this is not eye-appeasing, whatsoever, and it does cause a big safety issue.
As of August, the owner owes the city more than $19,000 in liens.
I think it's a good idea. Foreclose it, clean it up. I don't know what they're going to do with it, and make something productive out of it.
So here's the thing. Look at this building. Okay, they said $19,000 in liens. That's a lot cheaper than the $69,000 in lien that you saw on that one empty lot that's next to the church. But this place is big enough. What do you say? Make a shelter, make some kind of you can make individual rooms in it. It's a big warehouse. It doesn't necessarily have to be trash, or it doesn't have to be a warehouse again, because there's a problem with businesses coming to the city of Portland because they're being taxed to death. So you might as well, instead of making a day shelter that's underneath Salvation Army, because it's Salvation Army's rules, so they have to make it a day or night center. I think it's a night center. But with this place here, there's your shelter. There's a place that could house a lot of people. Maybe not hundreds, maybe 50, 60 people at the most, maybe 70 if it's big enough, because it looks like there's 3 areas here. Who knows? Maybe I'll say maybe 50 at the most. And because I don't know what this area is in the corner right here. But yeah, there it is. 19,000 shouldn't be hard for them to pay off or take property back from Chemical Oil or Christian Oil, as I think it was. They said the company's been out of business for 5 years because of COVID. And yeah, take it over and put the people there. But here's the thing, that's not going to be good enough because they want money.
So today's discussion at council on foreclosing 8 properties like the ones you just saw was just a first reading. So basically a first discussion. Councilors will have a second reading and vote on whether to move forward with foreclosure sometime next week. Now, when it comes to the empty lot in Southeast by the church, council referred that to the mayor for guidance on how to move forward. If the city does vote to foreclose on any of the properties, the owner can still get the property back by paying off the debt within 90 days of the foreclosure sale date. If they don't, it will be auctioned off to the highest bidder by the city. Now, we're told that usually happens a few months after council approves the foreclosure. But what do
Now, what I was saying, it sounds ridiculous because, first off, here we got properties that could be used to help the homeless. They could be helped to, lighten the load on things. And then because the properties are city owned, they have a way of making it a 24-hour shelter. The problem with the other shelters that are night shelters or day shelters is because they're owned through, third party or second party agency. Like I said, Salvation Army owns the night shelters. I believe the other one is Alchemy something for the day center. Alchemy is dang it. I have somebody I know that works for that company, and yeah, they have a day shelter thing. But with these properties, they would be bought out by the city, owned by the city, licensed by the city, which means 24-hour shelter, which is what the homeless people need. Now they just have to determine how long they would want those people to stay in that shelter, and for how long of a time, and what resources they can help them with, why they're in there. Because if you're not helping them with sources, then you're just buying time, and pretty much probably what all shelters do, because they want your ID, social security number, and all that. They want to make it to where they can get grants and more money off of these people that live in there. Oh, we got a homeless problem. Even if the homeless problem was to subside and or secede or whatever you want to call it, go down, they would still say, oh, we need more help because there's 100 people in this shelter. There's like 100 and something more every day trying to get housing, even though that might not be the case. I'm not talking about right now, but right now it obviously is the case. I'm saying in a time period where it might not happen to where we don't need so many shelters. But yeah, that'd be the best scenario. I don't know. This episode I went a little too far off, but some things need to be said and talked about and discussed, or even put on the table for discussion. Whatever. That's what I believe. That's why I thought this episode would be about me talking about how these businesses are affected. But because I've seen these, and they said there's 8 of them, I figured that, hey, these are perfect places for shelters, even rehab places, like rehabilitation places, for drug addicted people or people period that's trying to get themselves straight and get back into the working field or whatever. So many positive things you could do with these things when you have the amount of money that our city has and tries to tell us that we don't have. Same thing with our country, telling you have something, and we gotta borrow money from ourselves. And don't even get me started in that, chaos because it confuses the shit out of me. And like I said a while ago, I'm trying to make sense of things. Borrowing money from ourselves in a country that prints its own money doesn't make sense to me. Shouldn't make sense to you either. And I don't still know why they still say that, but they do. Anyway, this has been Moral High Ground. Yeah, I'll be back with something else. Peace.